Okay. Yep, we are on. All right. All right. So we are a little bit early here, just making sure that we can get on Facebook Live. You know, with us guys, right? With our internet. Oh my gosh. But we have sunny skies, but storms all around us. And summertime here in Florida, wow, it's like hurricane season. So you never know what you're going to get. All right, let me get this organized. Everybody just hang in there. Our guest, we're still waiting for our guest speaker today to join us. We're a little bit early. Testing. Okay, let me turn this mic on. That was not on. We are on now. All right. So, hi, everybody. Okay, here's that dang closed caption stuff again, which I can't stand that it automatically comes on. All righty. Okay. Oh, I can't wait to get my hair touched up tomorrow. You can see my gray coming. I'm getting that colored.
3 o'clock?
No, I got her switch to 12:30.
Oh.
Yeah, remember? I told you?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
So, yeah, because like I am leaving to go on vacation tomorrow. So, hallelujah. I can't wait. So, yeah, leaving tomorrow early evening with my hubby. Cannot wait.
That is exciting.
Yes, you know it. And then July is just a mess in a good way for all of us here. Sabrina's going on vacation. Yahoo! Clarissa's going on vacation. So yeah, I started, then Clarissa, and then you. So you bet. And you're going to Youth World. This will be your last one with your daughter.
Gosh, I hope so.
Okay. But your mom and your sisters will be there.
Unfortunately.
Okay, yeah, all right. Anyway, is she going to be riding? Or,
yes.
okay,
She's going to be riding Pistol.
Okay.
As far as I know.
All right. Is your mom bringing that other horse just in case?
No.
What was that other horse?
Jay.
Okay, I thought so. All right, well, all righty. And I'm going to one of my favorite places in the world so far, since I have been a world traveler, I can say that. Where we got married, Kurt and me. So we're going back to Siesta Key. Beach right outside, well, Sarasota, Florida, Gulf side, the Gulf side, absolutely beautiful. So Siesta Key, a lot of people think Siesta Key is the Florida Key West. It's not Key West. Key West would be what, 10 hours from us? Key West to go all the way down the Keys, you guys. You think because we're in Florida, but think how long Florida is, and Ocala is like central to northern Florida. It would be 10 hours to get to Key West. No, we are just going to, thank you now. I love all these new features. Recording in progress. So we are going to Siesta Key, which is about 3 hours away. And it's gorgeous. You know, the Gulf beaches. Hi, Janine, miss you. I have a picture for you. I should send it right now, Misty. Miss Janine. I'm gonna send you a picture of your beautiful girl who's out in the paddock with Zor, so she doesn't keep peeing in her stall. So let me send it. Lida, she's been missing you. I can tell, you know, she gives me that forlorn look, like, where's my mom? Can you come and love on me right now? And Callan too. Oh gosh, I get it from both of them. Sweethearts. All right, well, we miss you too, girl. Holy cow. So yeah, Janine's away. Janine number 1, who's got Lita and Callan. Janine number 2 is our marketing person. Hi, Rebecca.
Hey.
Did you give her stick for us to remind her?
Oh, I got it. Yeah, okay, I got it. I got it written down. I got everything. So, all right, well, here's our guest. So let me start. Okay. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. We're a little bit early. She's closing the door. I love it.
Make sure she comes close.
Yeah. And Rebecca, make sure you sit real close to your laptop, babe, your speaker. Your speaker.
Got you.
Yeah. All right, thanks, hon. Well, welcome back, my friend. This is Rebecca Seibel, right? Seibel.
Bible.
Seibel. Okay, thank you. And this is Everything Horses and More podcast. You know who I am, and I've got my lovely co-host, Sabrina Arbogast, who's here to just manage comments, get a word in if she can, and take any questions you all might have. So today's topic is about being your horse's advocate. Woo, Rebecca. I got plenty to pitch in myself. So Rebecca basically wanted to talk about this for many reasons, but also add how to recognize when you're behind the 8 ball and what to act upon. All right, my dear. All right. So how are you?
Doing well.
Rebecca?
Yeah, doing well.
Good.
I just saw Foxy and Handy, and it's humid and a lot of flies, but they're the right horses for me. Love them.
Oh, I love it. Yes. Yeah, you look really sublime. That's a good word right now. You look really happy and content. That's beautiful. Yeah, I love it.
Both
You're
of them.
so in love.
Yeah,
You love your
yeah.
horses.
It's a good fit, both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yes, absolutely. Cool beans. So begin, my dear.
Sure. Well, I will start by saying that I have a 15-year-old quarter horse mare and a now yearling Appaloosa colt. He is recently gelded, and that is the subject of this story. I did have a horse a couple of years ago that had to be put down about a year and a half ago, maybe.
Yep.
And I had
really.
some hard learning experiences with knowing what I don't know, and with dealing with vets, and basically knowing when to push the medical doctors, I guess, and when to trust. And that's and the farrier too.
Oh my God.
Well,
yeah.
For example, I did ask the farrier at a very critical, turns out in hindsight, a critical point, what's the worst thing that could happen if we took the shoes off Jupe?
Yep,
And he
your lead
shrugged and said, man, we come back next week and put shoes back on. But that was not accurate. So without beating myself up, this is a couple stories about how to try to
Somebody just came in.
yeah, though that's the dogs going out. This is my home office, and they come in here after breakfast every morning. They're ready to work all day, which means sleep on the couch.
Oh my God. So did they just let themselves out of your door? They opened the door.
They just vacated. Yep.
They opened the door though. You had shut it.
Yeah, they shut and opened the door. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, because I can add plenty. Believe me, I also was here for Jupe. So Jupe was here with us.
Yeah.
It's really sad, you guys, because the farrier that was here to help Rebecca's late horse Jupe was a specialist. Like oh my God, he was an egomaniac is what he was. Don't even get me started on this. And there were 2 horses here, because it was also Jasmine's horse that needed some corrective trimming. And again, he just wanted shoes. Now, don't get me wrong, shoes can serve a purpose, definitely. But if you have an excellent farrier like we have now, Ariella's husband, Brad, and I have had before when I was up in not New England, but Northeast, they know how to trim and balance. They understand angles. So listen to me, you guys. I'm sorry. There are smart people and dumb people in life, period. I hate to be that rude and black and white, but it's real. There are smart and dumb people in every business. So just because you are a farrier, now vets different, sorry. Vets have to be really intelligent scholastically. But then, as I say in the mastery program, in your 4th course, when I'm going through the holistic horse and wellness guide, just because your vet is intelligent and got through school Doesn't mean they're textbook smart though. It doesn't mean they have the experience. I want a vet with a minimum of 15 years experience. And even then, what type of experience do they have? Because they may specialize in one area than another. And and this farrier was, I mean, when we told our vets what because I have 2 vets here that I love, there goes your door again. When we told the vets, they were just astonished. And I was pissed off because I'm like, what do you mean you're astonished? You refer this guy, don't you ask questions? I mean, sometimes they're just too busy.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And that is the whole point of this discussion, because as you will hear, I closed the loop with the farrier. I closed the loop with the owner of the practice. And it just
with which horse though? This would be Handy.
This is with Handy Boy, right? My yearling Appaloosa.
Just recently. Yep.
Right. And so speaking to the situation that you've got, it's, experience definitely counts, but it's got to be good experience. And I would even go further and say, you've got to have the temperament to know when to pause and to know when.
And if you're too busy.
Just all of it. And it's, and so the factor that's the same for everything is that you are going to be your horse's best advocate. You're the one who's going to change the course of Legend's last years. Like, yes, there's no question. And if you hadn't stood your ground, I mean, it's.
Well, yeah, I was on it 5 years ago when my surgeon at my vet's practice came to look at Legend's leg. And because he was 3-legged lame, he had torn his tendon in the back from the knee to the ankle, completely shredded it, you guys. And this particular tendon is called the superficial tendon. There are 3 tendons around the cannon bone. I didn't know any of this, and he didn't even explain this to me. Right. When he was doing the sonogram, and I'm like trying not to sob, guys, I'm crying and trying to be professional at the same time. He's sitting down and he's looking in horror up at me, and I'm looking at him going, what does that mean? You deal with the thoroughbred industry. You've got to see like crazy accidents all the time. He's like, I've never seen anything like this. I'm like, so what are you trying to tell me, Dr. So-and-so? What's my percentage of recovery on a scale of 1 to 10? He goes, a 12. There is no recovery for this. And then he's just, like, and I'm like, excuse me? Oh, hell no. You ain't going to tell me. My horse is going to tell me. You're not going to tell me. That poor little horse of mine. This guy didn't even tell me what tendon it was. And so what I found out from my other vet was that, oh my God, Caroline, out of all 3 tendons, the superficial tendon is the one your horse can do without. And sure enough, Legend in his recovery, spending 2 months in a stall and being so smart that he would lean against the wall. He laid down most of the time. He kept off of that leg. And I was doing all the ice therapy, everything you can think about. And anyway, it grew scar tissue. So now we're talking about Legend now, how can I maintain his quality of life? He's now 29. This was 5 years ago. I was riding him up until that time. And he did this injury playing. This is the scary thing about horses, playing. And I watched him the night before playing with Deco. You all, those of you that follow us, it's Jen's horse, Deco, before he went back he was in transit again, staying with me down here while they were moving. And they were rearing, and I was like, you're awfully close to the fence. And sure enough, I'm sure he got caught on the fence, you guys. Mm. Anyway, yeah, so if I had listened to my vet the first time, and now we've got this phenomenal farrier who's creatively going to work with me on how to help support Legend's bad leg, because it's actually getting worse. So there's only so much he can do to the trim, and he's already trimming the other, hooves to help support the changes in Legend's body, which is so important. But now we're going to figure out how to shim that up, so to speak, because it's a definitely shorter leg because of the contraction of the scar tissue. Yeah. But I want to finish with Jupe, because I get pissed talking about this too, Rebecca, before we move on to Handy. Being your horse's advocate. And I'm gonna yell at myself too. I was too busy. You remember that, Rebecca? I had students here. I had
Yeah.
apprenticeship going on. It was the last of my apprenticeships, my in-person apprenticeships here. I still had one of my apprentices here, who I was still working with. We were in and out with, immersions and clinics and things like that. You came trying to squeeze some time in, and then Jupe was so ill with his bone infection that yes, it never. So the first vet back home didn't diagnose this properly,
Correct.
nor did they suggest X-rays, which I suggested in our coaching, our consultation. But you being new to a horse, you being too busy, you weren't even home at the time when all the shit was going down. You were traveling. You were going
there was a lot.
So you guys, I mean, just keep this in mind. We can be our horse's advocate, but that means we've got to slow down too. We've got to slow down and take the time to pay attention and start asking questions. It's no different than our loved human, two-legged loved ones getting cancer. All of a sudden somebody, it's like I look back at my dad and that brain tumor that was the size of an egg that eventually killed him. Or as my brothers believe, it was actually the horrible chemo treatment. Don't even go there. That probably killed him. But anyway, if I hadn't moved to Florida and I was still living close to my parents, I would have recognized these physical signs in my father a lot sooner than anybody else, especially my mom. And that's just, again, I'm not blaming myself for moving, but taking the time to pay attention and then don't wait for shit to hit the fan. Just I'm a realist. I'm not impulsive like that. I'm not like gonna panic over stuff. You guys know me. I'm a realist and I have a lot of experience with this shit and I want to be preventative. So it's like, shit, if something's not right, get a damn x-ray, you guys. And that's what Rebecca's vet should have said. The first vet back home with Rebecca, get an x-ray.
Yeah. Right. And I'm glad that you brought all those points out, because one of the things that matters in all of life is paying attention and slowing down, right? And then asking questions. And I'm going to say, in my situation, being prepared before the situation goes, because this was his gelding was planned.
Yes. So how could you have better prepared yourself? What do you mean? How could you have better prepared yourself?
Well, just on the science.
Like what could go wrong?
What were generally accepted best practices? Because the generally accepted best practices that I researched after the fact, I would say like 5, none of those happened. Now, it doesn't mean that it can't be successful. But in an area where I'm not,
I'm confused. So what are you talking about? Look, there's really just one way to geld a horse,
Well, that there's not.
Okay.
So I can take you through the process.
Yes.
So based on my experience with Jupe, where you are correct, I only had x-rays done on his, and we thought it was the hock based on your urging. It wasn't his hock at all. And so the vet missed it, and the vet missed it probably a couple times, actually. And I'm not a vet. I'm not an expert.
Let's talk about being preventative, because this happens to a lot of us. I get these emails. I get these questions. So if you can't find the source or the cause of the problem with your horse, the physical ailment of your horse, don't stop there. It's just like us. Get a second or a third opinion. And that means 2 or 3 other vets, you guys. And so unless you're going to be like me, like with Legend, I was like, fuck you, excuse me, but fuck you. As much as I respect you, I mean, it was such a hard line for me. I was so pissed off. This guy, he's a freaking surgeon in one of the most major equine practices here in Ocala. They deal with the biggest industry in the world, thoroughbred racing. And you're telling me you've never seen this before. And there's no way he's going to rip her. You just gave my horse a death sentence. You said the wrong thing to me and to him. Let your horse tell you. You still got to be preventative. I iced the hell out of him. He was on Banamine. He was on stall rest. You do whatever you can and let the horse tell you.
Right.
So you got to watch. I mean, I spent many an evening with my horse. You've got to pay attention to things getting worse. Are they stabilizing or are they getting better? But when it comes to that hock, your vet, a good vet would have been, okay, I'll come back and let's what do? They numb specifically, Sabrina, they numb parts. You guys, they block. Thank you, Rebecca. They block. So she could have blocked it all the way down to the foot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the easiest way and less expensive and invasive way of determining and isolating where the problem is in the leg.
Yeah.
So you don't just stop there. Then you keep blocking and blocking and blocking until you figure out, isolate where the hell it is.
Yeah.
And then if she had done an X-ray, you
guys
would have seen it. You would.
One more X-ray would have, $30 would have illuminated where the actual problem was, not in his hock at all. So. And
he would have lived, you guys. You may not have been able to ride him, but the level of bone infection that he had by the time he got to me, and he was so sick, the weight loss, the temperature on the trailer, and then and we had him X-rayed, and we started with the baseline of information from there. And unfortunately, I shouldn't smile. Unfortunately, the farrier is the reason, because he suggested, didn't he, that you go without protection.
The second farrier that worked on him, I asked him, if we take his shoes off right now, what's the worst that can happen? And he said, basically, no big deal. I'll just put shoes back on. But that was inaccurate. The worst that could happen is he would bruise his very thin, still recovering sole and go downhill from there. And that's what happened.
Yep.
So, but what I'm getting at, what's really difficult is many people say in your spot with Legend would believe a very, educated, experienced surgeon in the middle of horse country and put Legend down. And I'm not a veterinary expert, but I'm not stupid. And so to have to learn these lessons over and over is humbling and difficult, but just
so we have to listen to our gut.
Yeah,
we have to listen to our gut. I think a lot of people don't use common sense, and we don't listen to our intuitive side. And so you've got science. Here's my work, right? The whole method. The method's based on science, some science. It's based mostly on intuitive, and it's also based on a lot of common sense.
Right.
And so it's not just one. We don't have just one answer. You've got to be looking at all three things. And I'm always ruling out the three. So I'm like, okay, science tells me, wow, he's got no tendon left, right? But my gut tells me, and I communicate with my horses, listen to my horse. He'll tell you. And then common sense tells me, wow, I'm going to support that listening to my horse, because I can't tell you how it measures within me. It's such a tuning fork. Like, I just knew the common sense was, he's not, stall, put him on all these treatments. And there is some logic that I know about scar tissue. So go on, research. Okay, what happens when there's no tendon? What happens? You get scar tissue. Scar tissue is the body's natural way of trying to pull the nerves and the fibers together and rebuild. And it rebuilds in the form of, it can't rebuild the tendon. So couldn't reattach the tendon, guys. There was no tendon. He completely shredded it. So he must have been stuck on that fence for a while and seesawing the shit out of that tendon to get off. Pretty horrifying. I could throw up right now, because I could talk about Smokey, and if I did have 3 different vets tell me that little point of pressure on his knee, just pay attention to it and put him on MSM for joints, and don't worry about it. And I should have had him x-rayed right then and there, because we would have seen that it was the beginning of a bone spur that took over his complete body.
And I mean, I'm definitely more intuitive and more in touch with myself and my horses, in the last few years and since I've started working with you, for sure. But the action is, when you're not the expert, there is a bit of a disconnect. And if it is your wife, your husband, your mother, your father, your family, you have to be the advocate, and your animals, and especially for the horses, because they can't speak.
Yep,
And
that's our responsibility.
yeah, and we get to a spot where we think that the doctors or the vets are infallible, and they're not. And it's not.
When they're busy, or when they're in a hurry and they're too busy. And we've seen this repeatedly, you guys, all three of us here talking to you in this podcast between farriers and vets, consulting on all of us have had issues with our horses, and we're using the same people, and it's been horrifying. It's been really disappointing.
So based on my past experience, when I have I have a couple people that I trust that I asked for referrals because I was going to use a new vet. And my farrier up here, unfortunately, won't travel and wouldn't take new clients. So I got a new farrier up here too. We've gone through some bumps, and he's not terrible. So sticking with him.
I was going to
but
say,
I
let's
asked,
take some video and send it to Ariela's husband, Brad.
yeah,
But believe me, it's worth it, you guys. It's so worth it. And Brad's going to be on one of our podcasts again in August. It's so worth it to hire him for a consultation fee, to get his eyes on your horses, because it can save longevity. It can save your horse's longevity, their soundness. I mean, It's unbelievable.
So based on my past experience, I got a different referral. I knew that Handy needed to be gelded. And this place specializes in, they actually have some studs. They specialize in reproduction. And they were referred by two people. So I went with them. And I made an appointment. The vet's coming out to the barn. I met the vet out there, and he had an assistant, and gave Foxy shots, no problem. We were chatting. A younger vet, closer to vet school than retirement, not experienced, not 15 years.
Yep.
And that's my bad, because the vets I've had, though, to be fair to me, have been experienced. So, but that is a condition, that is a factor.
And we trust that that's what's happened to me with the two horses I was telling you about, one being mine back in Maryland. Remember, Smokey's nephew that I owned at the time was getting gelded, and he almost died because it was the assistant who was fresh out of school, 1 or 2 years, came, did the process. I was there, but working. So she's gelding to my client's horse, and she cuts four or five major arteries. So she's got them clamped. And so when she leaves, I'm like, why do you have these clamped? Well, I cut a couple of arteries. Well, Jay is profusely, Mr. JJ, profusely bleeding. And the other young horse that was his buddy that got cut too, he's licking the blood off of Jay. I mean, that's telling me. Meanwhile, I've got horses in training and lessons, so I'm keeping an eye on all of this. And by the afternoon, Jet won't get up. He's lost so much blood, you guys, he can't get up. And where I lived, it was beautiful. It was all wetlands. I had a marina at the end of our little street, our road, and a ferry. If I didn't make that ferry at 5 o'clock, it closed. It would have taken me, instead of 20 minutes to get to the vet, and then emergency right now would have taken me an hour. So I called my guy. Thank God he's a neighbor. I'm like, just hold the ferry for me. I got to it barely fit my rig. Get my rig on there, get this damn horse loaded. Oh my God, get over there. And they're doing emergency surgery in the evening. It was winterish time in Maryland. So they've got those big lights out on the lawn to Jet's laying down, and my vet was there. And we could have lost him. Mm-hmm. It is just horrible. And And you just about had the same situation.
Right. And at that point, if you didn't action being the key thing, he would be dead. Yeah.
Yep.
And so here's the difference in my story is that we did the shots with Foxy. We did Handy's shots. I don't know if we did those right away or later. This horse is a gem. He's so even.
Yeah.
Like that's just who he is. He's beautiful.
Yeah.
So the way that this vet learned how to do the gelding, they put him down on his back in the field. So we did it all in the field. We talked through this beforehand. The owner of the barn was there with another a woman who had a horse. My partner Holly was there, who's an orthodontist, so she's got some medical, background. The vet was there and an assistant. The assistant held his rear feet so that they would, if he was going to wake up, she would know. I stood over with my butt, like kind of in his face, but standing up. So I was holding his forelegs so that if he started to come out of it, I would feel that and be able to let them know. Because that is the cardinal rule mistake is don't run out of the appropriate anesthesia. That did not happen, thank God. Anesthetic. Medication. And so I probably would have been a vet for my profession if I didn't have some queasiness with blood and things. So we had a discussion about, can I handle this? And I was doing great, incisions, get one testicle, we're talking back and forth. He's like, this is the emasculator. It's a big clamp thing, basically just clamps the testicle off.
I'm going to say something. That's one thing, you guys, I've learned the hard way between vets and farriers. Don't talk to them. Minimal talking, like ask a few questions and let them focus.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, this wasn't a full-on discussion. We had the discussion about, am I going to be passing out?
Yeah.
And I said, no, I don't think so. I think I'm good. Because Holly said, I can do it if you can't, And so he got the one testicle. And one of the things I learned afterwards is that there's usually one testicle that's easier to do and then the other. So you should always do the harder one first. He did the easier one first. Because he had Handy splayed on his back, the penis shaft, instead of hanging down like it normally would, sort of sticking out, it kind of, and he's opened up the body cavity, right? So it kind of sucks back in, if you will. And so then we were all watching him search around, like he clearly was searching for the other testicle tissue. And at that point, I was like, okay, so it's the searching around that's going to get me here. Like the digging around in the body cavity, that's going to get to me. And at that point, I switched off with Holly so she could hold on to him.
Got it.
But right after the point where the vet took his scalpel and did what I would best call an exploratory incision, because he didn't know what tissue it was, he cut into the tissue and he cut into Handy's penis shaft. And in my profession,
he cut your horse's penis, not just the sheath. When you say shaft, we're thinking of the sheath that the penis slides up in and out of. I saw the picture. He cut his penis like 2 inches.
Yeah. Yes, it was an explorer to get the I don't know what you call it, the viscera, whatever, the sclera.
This is where they should have stopped and said, well, we'll do this, we'll do the other testicle another time. And
anything.
They're supposed to be able, sometimes, what do we call it, encrypted? You can't see the testicles, right? And that's a really,
he wasn't Handy's were both dropped. They're both outside the inguinal canal.
This should not have been difficult.
Well, and it was the technique of having him on his back makes everything, gravity works, right?
Yes.
The advantage is that gravity works with you.
I've never heard of that. It's usually, all my experience, they've been on their sides, you guys.
Me too.
They're just on their sides. And you do have someone holding the back legs. I'm usually at the neck.
Yep.
And the front leg with a rope, in case
Right.
that happens, I've got both front legs with a rope. You don't want to hold those legs, but they're
Right.
on their side. Oh
Right.
my God.
And sometimes they do it upright, but this is a technique I found
But
out
that's
later.
common sense. That's common sense.
But this is a technique that vet learned in Lexington, Kentucky.
Oh God, here we go again. Lexington. Yeah,
So,
like
I mean, all I'm saying is that you should be able to trust a medical profession, but don't trust a medical
you
profession.
even trust your own doctors? Seriously.
Well, I mean, you've got to,
misdiagnose.
I don't know. It was really difficult because then he did find the other testicle, finished the procedure. And then, Handy got up and he was groggy and then he was dripping blood from his penis. And we're all like, well, what are we going to do about this?
Yeah, because the penis, he's on a sedative. So the sedative makes them relaxed and they drop their penis. So you got to see the penis. Thank God. And you're like, what the hell? Why is the penis cut?
Right. And I will admit that up until the point where, Handy is standing up and his penis is dripping blood into the pasture, I didn't understand, like everything didn't totally click, like what had happened.
Yeah.
Because in order to cut the testicle, he first cuts the whatever the skin covering is, the first. And so it was the same sort of procedure, just he made a mistake. He didn't pause. Yeah, but he didn't pause when he didn't know. And also one of the things that I did research on is if you're going to do a gelding, because the tissues feel the same, apparently, is that the vet assistant should retract penis shaft. So someone should be hanging on to that junk so that it doesn't get involved in the procedure. So that's like, if you have standard best practices, standard operating procedures, that wasn't followed. So if you're going to put him on his back, then you're going to have to retract. Somebody's got to hold on to the penis shaft.
Yeah,
like,
that makes sense.
and having seen exactly one gelding, I would now never miss that. And that's the part that made me pretty angry.
Yeah.
Good
point.
So anyway, Handy got stitches then, and then he swelled up terribly. The next day I called I talked to the owner.
Yeah.
And here's another thing, and this is why you have to act, and this is where experience makes a difference, is I had talked to the owner. I had called the attending vet, left a message. Then I was like, well, I need to handle this, right? And so I talked to the owner and I told him the story, and he kind of paused. There was quiet. He's been in business for 45 years. He's been, owning his own practice.
Yep.
And he said, well, I think, you should bring him in. And I said, well, what's the timeline on that? And he said, right away. And that's the other thing, is a lot of seasoned horse people will say, just wait it out, see if he gets worse. They usually fix themselves because they do have incredible healing properties, capabilities. But at that point, he needed all hands on deck. He needed
So let me just stop right
antibiotics.
there. Let me stop. Hold on. That's a great point. But also when they're getting gelded, you are told what to look out for, and you're supposed to cold hose them. I don't think so much Banamine for inflammation as much as cold hosing them several times a day. And you don't want to see extreme inflammation.
Yeah.
And so, here again is common sense. It's like, okay, did they talk to you about cold hosing? Now I know they cut his penis, but the other thing you worry about when they're on the ground, period, and they do it on the ground, you guys, on the dirt, is you don't want dirt getting in this incision because of an infection. And I know they're squirting it with all the antiseptic, betadine crap and surgical stuff. So, I mean, just got to keep thinking about these things. You don't, if you're seeing that the genitals are swelling up so much, and they always tell you if the penis or the sheath, not the penis, the sheath really swells, you're going to see some swelling, but unusual swelling, call us immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what kind of horse people, to me, those are egotistical idiot horse people that say, oh, just wait it out, or old timers, just wait it out. And, no, you just, there's a certain amount of swelling that's acceptable. And after that, you better do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. And the tough thing is, I don't own a horse trailer. So I had to borrow a horse trailer. My whole day was altered around getting my horse.
I know. I was on the phone with you.
Yeah. And thank you for that.
Poor thing, you bet
he would have had some swelling, most likely, and because the penis is the lowest point, it all pools there, and I get all that, but he wasn't supposed to have it too.
Well, honey, the penis would have never swelled. It would have been the sheath a little bit, and of course, really, that's really it. They can't really swell where the testicles were, because that's just it's skin. It swells a little. Did they tell you to cold hose?
Yes, and they leave the cavity open so everything can drain.
Yes, correct. That is
shocking to me, but it makes sense.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, and
so you're rushing to get a trailer. Now you've got to take him to emergency care.
Yeah, well, the other thing is that, he's a yearling and he hadn't even been introduced to the hose, because I got him in late October, and it's, spring.
Right. That's right.
And he's a great colt, and he's got a great mind, but he was not like, he wasn't trusting. He wasn't trusting.
Yeah, it hurts. What the hell are you doing? Yeah.
And I tried to do one cold hosing, and I was like, I'm gonna make him a basket case about the water, and also I was scheduled to fly out of town, actually, like 2 days later.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the interesting thing is that after I talked to the owner, and he said, by the end of the day, yes, get him in here. I talked to the original vet, and he was like, oh, just cold hose him, and you've got the antibiotics. Like, he kind of blew it off. And at that point, I was like, okay, my bad for not researching this particular vet. I mean, I don't know how much you can trust, but it's a bad fit.
I agree. Well, look, when Jay, my little colt, got cut, my vet, I thought it was going to be my vet, and my vet was there. But my vet was so busy talking to me, we were shooting the shit. That's why I said, don't talk to anybody. So he wasn't overseeing Kristen, his assistant. So I mean, holy cow. Yeah, I agree, Rebecca. There's only so much that we can do to prepare for stuff like this, except here we are in a podcast trying to prepare people to just think about all of these things, and hopefully it all works out.
Well, and the irony is that for my profession, I teach people, I do safety and training of arborist activities. So climbing at height with chainsaw and heavy wood pieces. So I preach every day. Like we do a meditative, just a
mantra affirmation.
A get your head in the game. We do site safety. We evaluate every job. Every job is always different, much like a vet or a medical. Every horse, every situation is going to be different. We cultivate self-awareness. We deliberately teach the pause, because if you're about to climb a tree and you don't have all your stuff together, you're in trouble. If you don't have a good idea about what's going to happen when you cut a piece, it can come back and hit you in the face, or smash somebody's roof. Everything we do is pretty critical, and it's the same thing. And so here I am being an expert in my field.
That makes sense. So we assume that other people are going to take that time. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm not going to make those. And that just made me angry on all sorts of levels, because you expect a certain competency from a professional.
Yes.
And
I agree.
what I'm here
Right,
to say,
Sabrina?
you cannot
get
expect that. You
I agree
cannot
with you.
expect.
Great point. That's a great point, you guys. Something else to consider. Holy cow, especially if you're a business owner. You know, I say anybody that's a business owner or, you know, not even like the vets aren't business owners per se, but that you have a higher level of responsibility, you know, in your occupation. You
Yep.
check a lot of boxes, you know, and manage a lot of things. You expect other people. I go through this all the time with hiring people to work for me. Yeah, it's pretty
Mhm. And
learning
so,
curve, disappointing.
yep.
Yeah.
My take home messages are, you know, you have to pause when you don't know. And you have to act when it's necessary. But knowing the difference between those two is like a lifelong learning. And so for me, you know, in my healthcare or anyone I care about, I want to be educated going into the procedure from now on. I'm not going to make that mistake ever again for anything.
Yep. Me too. Yep, me too. I agree with you a whole 100%. And I want to add something too that gets more personal, you guys, because I'm always diagnosing patterns and deducing, and that's what makes me really good. Anybody really good at problem solving is being able to deduce, basically. What I've seen over the years, including myself in my growth pattern, but in my students across the board, is limiting learned behaviors. And Rebecca, I know you personally. We're very close friends. You know me personally too. And we come from two different backgrounds. My family, my mother, I'll say my mother, who was a matriarch. You know, my mom raised us. Dad was around, but who raised you? Was it your dad or your mom? So my mother raised us mostly. And mom was a doer. My mother was a doer. And that was something she learned from her mom. In your family dynamic,
Thinkers.
look at how much, yes. And look how, and nobody knows how to take action because you're going through something pretty serious in your family dynamic. And you are having to take the lead and learn how to take the lead in guiding this dynamic that's going on in your own family. And I think we need to really think about this, because it's never going to change for any of us if we don't understand why we either overreact or don't act, you know. And for me, a lot of it was overreacting too. That was a big learned behavior. My mother was an overreactor too. So I just wanted to put that out there, you know, because I know that I love you so much, and I know how amazing of a person you are in every way, and how you care and you try. And there's this unconscious thing, unfortunately, and it's always that unconscious limiting belief or patterns because of the way we were raised, and it's so ingrained in us at such an early age. It's unconscious. And it's like we've got to like pull that shit out and just go, God, how do I get to understand you and why you do what you do? You being me or you. Why do we do what we do? Why? So I'm checking off everything you said and agreeing with it, but the big elephant in the middle of the room that we can't see, that is the biggest problem here, is how we handle situations. Because I know you as a horsewoman, and that's something that you struggle with. A lot of people struggle with is the taking action and that immediacy. You're great at pausing, you're great at reflective work, you're great at being sensitive and compassionate. But then there's that balance of, well, when do I pause and hold that space, and when do I know when to take action and guide that or change that? And that's for everyone. That's something that everyone can learn. I'm not just singling you out, my dear. And then there's the overreactors, like I used to be, where you get impulsive. You learn how to be impulsive. But doesn't have to define you the rest of your life. But you got to be self-aware. And that's exactly where you are. Wow. Pretty profound stuff.
Yeah. And you have to look at yourself and be willing to ask the hard questions. And that's what I'm doing even in this podcast is.
wait, don't say it like that. It's not to me, it might be a hard question to you. It's not a criticism, not from, so this is, be kinder. You don't know when you're a young child. You have no awareness or level of consciousness. You're not conscious of what you're learning. And we can't blame our family anymore. We're adults
Right.
now. All we can do is move forward and make a choice. But please don't beat yourself up as much as you hate. Oh, I've been there. I hated that about me. And Legend was such an amazing spirit horse teacher, because I could send him over the cliff like that. He's like, you come into my space with the wrong fucked up intention and miscommunication and all your chi energy all over the place, and you get demanding or you get impulsive or you're too emotional. Caroline, I was all of those things. Oh my God. Just snap. He'd be like, here's your mirror, girl. How do you like it? And I'd be like, oh my God. So the positive attitude, you're an adult now, you understand it, you got a choice, you can make the difference, and we can, damn it, about our upbringing, too, but don't get stuck there and don't criticize yourself. God, how much shit happens to us in our infancy and up to the age of 3 that just fucks us for life. Like, seriously. Yeah, we're like battling it our whole lives, trying to understand why we do what we do, and what we do isn't necessarily who we are.
That is so true. Yeah.
Remember, it's nature versus nurture. Nurture's learned, nature's innate. So
Yeah.
what we do isn't necessarily who we are.
Yeah.
Wrap that around your brain a couple of times.
She's sitting with that, but that's a limiting belief system that we're all fucking born with. Do you realize, man, it pisses me off. The minute we're born, we're fucked. As babies, there's so much psychology about this, though. As babies, we're so innocent and so pure. And then what happens to us? Our environment. And it's more than just our family dynamic. It's everything. It's our entire environment, everything. And even if you have a wonderful family, if they can't help you learn how to handle certain situations that come up for all of us, then that's what you learn.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you learn. And a lot of us learned helplessness, just like the horses. We learn helplessness. We get stuck in learned helplessness, a position of inactive. We're unable to take action or make really huge defining decisions. And we're talking about them right now.
Mm-hmm.
I get mad about I get angry about the things we're talking about with the horses. But I don't get mad at myself. I have some late regrets with Smokey. And I've had a lot of animals in a lot of situations, but I also know I did the best I could. And each time I learn and I take that knowledge and experience everything to the next
Right.
situation.
Right.
So it's yeah.
Well, and that's what I mean about asking the hard questions, is being able to say, like, what is the dynamic that makes me, I'm not the expert in that situation. I'm used to being the expert. Like, I'm rarely not an expert anymore in my field. And I've learned a lot by working with you, for sure, on recognizing spots that need action, for sure.
Yeah, I know that's been a really big dynamic for you and me, and a difference between, you are one of the leading arborists in the world and in our country. Wow. Yep, Rebecca is. She's hired to speak all over the country and lead teams and guide. And yes, you are a woman, and that's kind of unheard of, and it's really amazing. And then when it comes to horsemanship, sometimes you're a fish out of water with it. And a lot of it I pegged it from the very beginning because that's my job, to assess you, not just your horse. But yeah, we all have our, if we so choose to acknowledge it, because it can be painful. I'm speaking from personal experience here. We all have our paths, and paths that we're not comfortable with, and we don't understand about ourselves, and we may not like, obviously.
Yeah.
But if we so choose to acknowledge that and step up, so to speak, that's our journey. I don't, I've got my own journey in that realm as well, different but similar.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, just be easier on yourself, kinder to yourself, and I think you make it more difficult, you overanalyze things. I'm looking at it more objectively, looking at your decision making, for the lack of a better word. And yeah, man, you're leading people and keeping them safe. I mean, an extremely unsafe occupation and work. And then when it comes to the horses, it's just such a different space for you.
But I think next time you get to see me with the horses, though, I have evolved a lot there. Because I have the sensitivity and the feel and timing. I have that. And so my thing has just been acting right on the heels of it.
Yeah, but here you go. You sound like everybody else. Well, Caroline, when you see me, I've changed a lot. Listen. You've spent your whole fucking life being who you are. And now you've come into this horsemanship journey with me. And it's like, now we're going down the rabbit hole and opening up Pandora's box at the same time. So what I'm saying by that, for all of you, that this gets difficult, this following me in this work, it's because you're changing patterns, you're changing life patterns. You have been doing what you've been doing, the way you've been doing it your whole life until you decided to meet me and jump on this journey with me. So be kind to yourself. Rome wasn't built in a day. I do rehab work all the time, and I tell people all the time, it's not going to change in 30 days. 30 days, if you do it consistently and skillfully, and we're learning that, aren't we? But if you can get to the point where you can change skillfully, okay, and consistently work on it every day, 30 days just resets the pattern, resets the recognition of a new pattern. That's all it does. That's why there's 90-day programs out there for addiction, because they know damn well it takes 90 days. There's a whole science behind this for the person to really embody and embrace the new pattern, the new habit, the new way of perceiving, thinking, being, doing. So different for horses. And I might add 90 days, depending on the severity of the trauma. I will recommend well before 90 days that this horse needs 6 months, a year, 2 years. And sometimes it is a walk every day. Smokey took probably 10 years, 2 years to get him to where I could ride him and he didn't try to kill himself or kill me. And then it took probably another 10 years of everyday consistency of him being involved, choosing to be involved in clinics, workshops. You spent years with him. He literally chose to be involved. But the trauma combined with, I think he had sensory processing disorder. I've said that for a long time. I think he had a low level of you have autism, Asperger's, and sensory processing disorder. So Smokey was one of the smartest horses I've ever met, but it took him until about the last 5 years of his life for him to really use that brain and not be triggered. Isn't that crazy? So, there's no quick fix here. And we need to just frickin' start accepting some of these things and just say, okay, this is my journey. I accept it. I do want to enjoy it though, but I do want to enjoy it to the best of my ability. But stop criticizing ourselves and getting frustrated and feeling the pressure of of changing overnight and being something that you aspire to, but you're not quite there yet. You aspire to it. It's like, here's the destination. I can't wait to get to that destination, but we need to enjoy the process, find the joy in the journey of that. Yeah, wow. I say this for everyone, because this is, I'm seeing this come up with a lot of people in the program and where they're at. You know, kind of everybody as a group. I'm seeing, you know, a cluster of people that are not stuck isn't the right word, but expecting more. And they're just not ready yet. And so it's like when you expect more of yourself and you get in that self-doubt and frustration, there's a time to go pause. You know, why am I pushing myself so hard? You know, is it me, or is it an old family dynamic? You know, an old limiting belief or story.
Right.
Or am I stuck? Am I legitimately stuck? And I know it, and I need to push myself through that, you know, so I don't go back to that old pattern
Right.
of this is how I do things. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You're an advocate, you know, it's easy for us to just say, you know, X, Y, and Z. And I think, thank you, Rebecca, as always, man, your level of your intellectual level, I love it, because like you're real detailed, and we can get really deep on all of these these points here. But then it comes down to how we react or respond.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I learned from you is that, you know, if you haven't acted up to this point, like forget about it, but start acting now. And especially on all the preventive things. You know, if you see something going on with your horse, then take care of it right then, if you can.
Yep, figure it out. And you guys have me, you know, you've got a plethora of experience here, and you guys know that know me. And that's been my part of my mission, and sharing what I know is sharing a lot of what I know. Like you know, it's one thing I was saying to, you know, I've said to a couple of my students recently in coaching calls, and I was defining it in one of our videos, upcoming videos for July for our YouTube channel and library, you know, like 4 tips to being successful with horses, you know, and one of them is attitude. When I got back into horses, I was humbled so quickly, and I realized I only knew what I knew. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I thought I knew quite a bit. And the more I learned, the more I realized I didn't know. And the more I kept learning, the more I realized I didn't know. And instead of getting angry, frustrated, disappointed, discouraged, you know, beating myself up, I had an amazing attitude. That was one thing I've always had. I think you guys can. That's pretty fair. You know, shit happens to me like it happens to you guys, but it's all how you handle it. And you know, I'm definitely more of an optimist than I am a pessimist by far, thank God, but it's attitude. And I'm like, well, I want to learn, damn it. And I want to, if I'm going to become this wealth of knowledge to share and help horses and people, then give it to me. Sometimes it's a little too much. The universe throws a lot at me, but I'm like, give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. I want to soak it up. I want to learn. I'm going to practice it. I'm going to make sure that this works or doesn't work. You know, I'm going to be the dummy, you know, use me, so to speak. Yeah. So you can always call me, right? So who do you go to? We go to our vets. Well, I'm not sure. And now we're finding that our vets and farriers don't always have the answers. So it's like, who do you go to? You got to go to somebody that you trust and somebody that's got a lot of wisdom.
Right.
And if I don't know it, I'll tell you I don't know. There's very few things I don't know. But I'll tell you, I don't know. I haven't experienced that. I've never worked with that. I've never tried that.
Yeah. So the things that I wrote down here were sort of be prepared, and then ask questions before. And I think that's what any.
Be prepared how though?
Well, say
look it up on the internet, like I say, like
be informationally prepared.
Yeah, information. Do the best you can, like on the procedure and what do we call it? The healing time or recovery process or something. Yeah.
And at some point you have to trust. But then one thing that we do when we're, building teams is you also can call in more sets of eyes, which would be you, more opinions would be Sabrina, would be, like, it doesn't hurt to get more input with people that have your best interest in mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that goes for human doctors as well. There's someone very dear to me who lost her mother because the doctor prescribed the exact wrong medication for someone with breast cancer.
Well, that's what we think happened to my dad. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
My mom, when my brother Stephen was part of my dad's healing process, getting him to Johns Hopkins and finally getting an X-ray and radiation chemo. But then when Stephen left, he was able to work from my parents' farm remotely. And when he left after like that first year, mom went to her primary care physician, who we hated. She went to him because she was comfortable. He was old school, and he sent them into town and sent them to the wrong thing, and they zapped the wrong part of his brain. They killed him. Oh yeah, we could have had a lawsuit. Oh, my brother kept a whole book, you guys, of dad shrinking, shrinking the egg size fucking tumor in his brain, shrinking it, and then the inflammation that happened. Oh, he had blood coming out of his nose in his eyes.
Terrible.
I mean, come on, people. Yeah, I mean,
the other thing,
you have to make a decision. Yeah, it's like, I don't want to spend my energy in my next few years fighting, a law,
right.
malpractice suit.
Yes.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. It sucks all the way around. Look at all this shit. This is horrible. Look at all these experiences you and I have just talked about that you've experienced, that have been close to us with our animals, our loved ones.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, it's getting crazier out there. People are getting they're getting busier, they're getting lazier,
and incompetence is everywhere, and that's
it is.
That's
it
just
really
a truth.
It really is. Yep.
But to end the story on a positive note, Andy is fully recovered. I did, because he was on antibiotics for a long time, actually.
He stayed there. So positive note is he stayed at the clinic for what, 10 days?
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I think 4 nights.
Okay, till you came back?
I came, well, I took him there. I stayed maybe one more day, and then I flew out of town knowing that he was at the clinic.
Yeah.
Oh no, maybe I left the following. Yeah, I left after that. So I brought him back from the clinic, and then I had a couple days at home. Holly took over giving him antibiotics and twice a day. And he might have gotten some treats in that week.
I did.
And he's got a scar, and he kind of, his penis kind of goes one way more than the other, but he's functionally fine.
ED, erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
It's
not that bad. It's not too bad.
You look at those commercials, they got peppers. And it's like, I'm so bad, I know. I know, it cracks me up, sorry.
And then because I've been
also, well, go ahead.
I got him on, gut probiotic things, because I knew that could screw up his, so, and knock on wood, he's just a really solid citizen. He pretty much likes grass and hay.
He was not traumatized.
No.
Can you touch his area?
I can touch. I've been working on it with him, and I can touch. I haven't been pushing it right up to his penis yet, but he's all good. He's getting better.
Scratching his belly.
Yep, I got
work your way up, scratching the belly. They love their belly button scratched too.
His belly, his backsides, inside of his rear thighs, hinds.
And also an important thing too, and I was a real advocate for Rebecca doing this. because we talked about it, and I really wanted you to fight them on the bill and not pay it. Absolutely not pay it, because I know that's something that you're not comfortable doing. And you've got Holly, who could easily take care of that situation, especially being a doctor herself and having her own practice. And so you did not pay any of that. Am I correct? Nothing.
I paid for Foxy's vaccinations. Yeah.
I know that, but you didn't pay for his surgery
No,
or his,
no.
what do you stop?
No,
All
I
that
didn't.
recovery.
I didn't.
Hell
And
no.
in the meantime, I had reached out because I had no idea if this was like common, this whole screw up. And so I reached out to a couple different vets. One of them, UC Davis, one that had owned his own practice in a different state for a long time. And they said, no, this is not typical. This was a screw up. You should be taken care of. And one of them said, and if it were my practice, I would really appreciate not just like a terrible review, but a phone call from you. And so that's what I did, is I called the owner directly and talked to him and said, you know, basically you should fire this person. And the farrier said, hey, this particular doctor at that particular practice doesn't have a very good reputation, which I found out afterwards. The other vets have excellent reputations. So again, I'm referred to this place. Most of the people there are excellent, excellent. The one I happened to get wasn't, maybe on that day or maybe never, I don't know. And so he appreciated that. That vet was not fired, but does happen to be moving on from that practice. And I basically was saying to the owner that if I were in your place, I'm doing you a favor by telling you, here's his reputation on the street. It's a very small world, and you should probably part ways with him because it's doing your reputation, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And in my industry, someone gets not demoted, but they go from being able to work independently to having to be constantly supervised if they have issues, poor decision making, poor technique, whatever, a bunch of safety screw ups. And that's what I recommended to him if he was going to keep him on, was, you know, he's back to training.
Yeah, but when it comes to saving lives or taking them in your profession or a vet, in this situation, he could have killed your horse. And,
he could have, yeah.
It damaged him for life, just like my little guy. And then in your profession, people will die if they're not 100% accurate. It's different than in like my profession, where I could micromanage someone who wasn't or fire them, who wasn't doing, you know, up to par. I don't know about that. I'd be a lot more strict in your field, because someone could die like that.
Yeah. And it was a very real possibility that Handy could have, if he had gotten, you know, systemic infection that, I mean, he's only a year. He's only 13, 14 months old. So, and you know how some vet livestock people look at it, you know, like he's not that old, he's replaceable. How much did you pay for him? You know, is he a fine specimen? You know, they're thinking things like that. And I mean, Handy, he's a fucking gem. He is a spectacular horse.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet him.
I know.
Oh my God.
You're gonna love him. He's like a between legend and Jupe kind of. He's kind of smarty pants.
Yeah.
Neat guy.
Yeah, I love it. Jupe reincarnated. I love it.
Yeah, maybe a little. Yeah.
And that was scary for you too, because that was a big trigger. You're like, I mean, it was scary, understandably so, you know, going through something this scary with a beloved horse. And it's like, why is this happening?
Right.
Don't worry, it's happened to many of my horses. So like, hopefully everybody's kind of quiet. I know we're getting a big storm coming through. Sabrina, are looking, here comes the rain. We might lose you. We're gonna wrap up. It's looking pretty rough out there.
Yeah. Well, and that's the point. You just do the best you can, but try to be informed, and then don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to, you know, step back and revisit it and go a different way.
Yes.
You know, your horse is in a bad situation. You got to move it. You got to act. And I've learned that. I've gotten a lot better. that.
Boarding situation, everything. Yeah, it
Everything.
can be an situation. Like
You
a
got to
kid in a
ditch the
bad.
vet. Ditch the
Yes.
vet, you know,
Yeah.
not my
Just like you
problem.
did a babysitter or a bad school teacher you'd have a conference with, you know, just
Yep.
step up for animals, you guys. Like Rebecca said, we are their voice. We are their advocate. We are responsible for them.
Yeah.
All right, listen. I love this stuff, man. We were hot. We were passionate about this.
It's important.
Yeah,
It's really important
it is.
stuff.
We all love our babies.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Okay, my dear. I'll catch up with you later. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you,
Thanks for having me. I love these.
Yeah, I love you. Yeah, we'll continue. I'm sure we'll have you on many, many more times. All right, guys, that's it. We're wrapping it up. Thank you. Have a great, safe 4th of July. And we will not be doing a podcast next week. Will we? No. Am I correct?
Yes, July 2nd was done, and then it's Erica.
And then the next week will be Erica.
And then
I can't even remember. I should have printed that out. Sorry. The next week, which is the 15th or something of July.
there will not be one again, and then there will be Brad the 28th.
Okay, the 28th of, oh yeah, we get Brad the Farrier back, and he's gonna have something. So Erica and Brad are the next two for July, because we're still the end of June. So we only have 2 podcasts in July because I'm on vacation, you're on vacation. Not doing this without my sidekick. And anyway, so Erica, if you guys listened to our podcast last week, we are starting up a new series. We're really diving into the chakra system and healing.
That's really cool.
So for us and horses, and that's pretty much what Erica and I will continue to focus on. And that's it. Yeah. And then Brad, our farrier, will be doing a 101, like a class 101 for us. He's going to provide some general information on some basic things that we all need to look for, look at, understand. I cannot wait.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
It's going to be great. So we can look forward to that in July. And then I think we'll have we're back to a full month in August. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, babe. Give Holly a big hug.
I will. Right
And
back
the
at you both.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Happy 4th of July. Bye. Thank you.